Good evening, this is Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. On the show tonight, with a devastating week of attacks against Jews across the world, how can we solve a problem if we can't name it? Spoiler alert, I'm going to name it. Plus, Toby Young on the legal challenge he is mounting against the government over its official definition of Islamophobia. Another creep towards authoritarianism, the government's plans to scrap jury trials past their first hurdle in the Commons. But has the PM been exposed as a hypocrite? Over in the US, one spa's legal case to ban transgender women from their premises has caused headlines, particularly over the lewd legal dissent. One of Britain's top unions is being sued over claims they were threatened with disciplinary action for criticising its unlawful gender policy. Plus, it's Hollywood's night of nights. The Academy Awards will be joined by the critical drinker to see whether the big winner tonight will be wokeness. And we've got comedians answering some crazy culture conundrums from our live studio audience. But first, the news with Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you very much indeed. Josh, good evening to you. Just after 7 o'clock here in the GB newsroom. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, says the government will intervene if energy costs soar due to the ongoing conflict in the Middle East. Oil and gas prices have surged as a result of Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz, through which a fifth of the world's oil is shipped. Mr Miliband says Britain could deploy thousands of mine-hunting drones to the Strait after President Trump urged allies to send warships to secure the safety of shipping in the region. Several have been attacked. The UK's former National Security Advisor Sir Mark Lyle Grant says re-establishing the route won't be easy.
We've seen 16 ships attacked by drones, and that's even before the mines come into effect. And that's going to make insurance very difficult. It's going to make the owners of the ships very reluctant to risk putting ships through the Straits of Hormuz. And that is having economic consequences right across the world. I mean, we talk about the petrol prices in this country, but actually the worst impact is in Asia, where there's been electricity outages, there's rationing of electricity, etc.
Israel says it's expanded the scope of its strikes to include more areas in western and central Iran. This video, uploaded to social media, shows heavy smoke rising above what is understood to be the IRGC police headquarters in the city of Hamadan. Meanwhile, Iran has launched further strikes at US allies across the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait and Israel, where 6 people sustained minor injuries after residential areas were hit in Tel Aviv and Bnei Brak. Operations at the UAE's main port on its east coast have now restarted after it was hit by a drone on Saturday. And meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi has told US broadcasters Tehran never asked for a ceasefire after Donald Trump claimed Iran wanted a deal, but has said the terms aren't good enough yet to make one. The captain of the Iranian women's football team has become the latest player to withdraw her bid for Australian asylum. Zara Gambari will fly from Malaysia back to Iran, making her the 5th member of the delegation to change her mind. It is after the group refused to sing the country's national anthem in their opening Asian Cup match 2 weeks ago, so just 2 remain now. Australia's government says it did everything possible to ensure the woman had a chance of a safe future in the country. 12 arrests have been made as protesters and counter-protesters gathered for the Al-Quds Day demonstration in central London earlier. Pro-Palestinian protesters met on one side of the Thames, those backing the US-Israel war on Iran on the other. The arrests were for those showing support for a prescribed organisation, a fray, and for threatening or abusive behaviour. Some held banners reading Free Palestine and No to Israeli occupation, while others displayed pictures of the late leader of Iran. Finally, the Prince of Wales has shared a previously unseen photo of himself and Princess Diana to mark Mother's Day. It was taken at Highgrove in 1984. The picture shows William and Diana in a field of flowers. When he was 2, that was the year Prince Harry would have been born. This year would have been Diana's 65th birthday in July. In a post on social media, William said he was thinking of anyone who's remembering someone they love today. And those are your headlines. More later. Now back to Josh.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. This is a show where we cast our gaze across a spectrum of culture, current affairs and politics, doing our best to bring a bit of common sense to that which has become senseless. Lots to come up tonight, including the end of jury trials, anti-Zionism, naked Korean spas. Are we allowed to state the reason for Jew hate without being called bigots ourselves? Gay people no longer allowed to call themselves gay, captured unions betraying their members, and did sinners really deserve 16 nominations at tonight's Oscars? Woo! But first, the government's new Islamophobia definition has been given a rebrand, now repackaged as anti-Muslim hostility, and its appointment of a new tsar to punish people who fall foul of it. But the Free Speech Union is mounting a legal challenge, accusing the government of trying to introduce a Muslim blasphemy law via the back door and warning it could be weaponised to silence legitimate criticism and debate about Islam, Muslims and Islamic practices and history. Ministers say the non-statutory definition will help organisations better understand and tackle rising hostility, while insisting it will not restrict free speech or create blasphemy laws. Here's what Community Secretary Steve Reed told MPs earlier this week.
Mosques, schools and businesses have been attacked. Women harassed. Families are living in fear. We have a duty to act, but you can't tackle a problem if you can't describe it. So today we are adopting a non-statutory definition of anti-Muslim hostility. This gives a clear explanation of unacceptable prejudice, discrimination and hatred targeting Muslims, so we can take action to stop it.
I'm now joined by the founder and director of the Free Speech Union, Lord Young. Big round of applause. What the Minister mentioned there in that clip is a clear definition. Well, I've read it and it doesn't seem clear at all.
No, it's not very clear. It's quite short, but then there are about 1,400 words of guidance about how it should be applied. And the guidance is quite contradictory. It starts off by implying that the only speech which will fall foul of this new definition will be speech which is unlawful or which encourages unlawful behaviour. But then a couple of paragraphs later, it goes far beyond that and talks about stereotyping Muslims, about attributing negative characteristics to them. So it actually goes far beyond what's already forbidden by law, which kind of makes sense, because if all it did was restate what it's unlawful to say about Muslims and people of all faiths, then there wouldn't be any point in rolling it out. So clearly, the government's intention is that it should restrict more than just what the law currently prevents you from saying about Muslims, and go far beyond that.
Yeah, because, of course, we live in a society where we should be able to criticise any ideology. We don't have blasphemy laws in this country, and the concern here is, I imagine, that even though someone might read it and not be able to see the little weird loopholes within it that experts can see, but there will be this kind of overreach and this creep that we've seen happen so many other times, like with the non-crime hate incidents.
Well, because it uses words like stereotyping, negative characteristics, prejudicial, these are vague, legally undefined terms, and are effectively an invitation to the Tsar, who seemingly has been charged with enforcing this definition and adjudicating when complaints are made about people breaching it, giving the Tsar huge room to go quite far. You know, it's going to be weaponised by activists to shut down perfectly legitimate criticism of individual Muslims, Muslim organisation and Islam more generally. Yeah, I mean, it's quite terrifying, and I imagine that the threat that Free Speech Union sees here is enough that you've been forced to take legal action. Yeah, I mean, sometimes people describe this definition as something that will shortly be rolled out across public bodies. And that would be bad enough. But actually, Steve Reed, in his statement in the House of Commons on Monday, went far beyond that. He talked about rolling it out in universities, museums, libraries, charitable institutions, the third sector, not just the public sector. And then he also talked about private employees employers using it to try and adjudicate workplace disputes. And the Baroness Gohier, who was one of the members of the working group that came up with this definition, said in a press release on the day that Steve Reed stood up in the House of Commons that even though the police have only recorded around 4,000 anti-Muslim hate crimes, which, by the way, is probably an exaggeration, she thought actually, because of underreporting, there were more likely to be over 20,000. So you can see the kind of appetite for recording breaches of this definition that there already is amongst the activists who've devised this definition. So it looks like, unless we can throw a spanner in the works, unless we can put a stop to this, unless we can actually legally point out to the government, win a case showing that this definition is unlawful and the government's attempt to roll it out and appoint a czar is unlawful, and we think it is. If not, it'll have an incredibly chilling effect across the whole of British society.
Because it wasn't in the Labour's manifesto at all, and I believe it's now become that the government has adopted it. Like, that's it. It wasn't put to a vote. It now exists, and there's nothing that we can do about it as such unless it's challenging it in law.
That's right. I mean, because it's non-statutory, the government likes to boast that because it's not in law, it won't have a chilling effect on free speech. It won't affect what we can say about Islam. But that's clearly wrong. I mean, the Islamophobia definition that the all-party parliamentary group on British Muslims came up with in 2018, that was non-statutory, but had an extraordinarily profoundly chilling effect on free speech. It stopped whistleblowers, for instance, raising the alarm about the grooming gangs because they were worried about being accused of being Islamophobes, which is sort of one remove from being accused of being a racist. I mean, there's no question that that definition had a chilling effect. Remember, Trevor Phillips was kicked out of the Labour Party for saying something that supposedly fell foul of that definition. So the fact that it's non-statutory is no kind of safeguard. But actually what it means is that there hasn't really been an opportunity in Parliament to discuss this. There's been no vote in Parliament. It's just been, as you say, foisted upon us by the government. There was a working group appointed by Angela Rayner before she had to resign in disgrace. They came up with this definition. 6 months later, it's being rolled out without any real parliamentary scrutiny.
And your organisation uncovered the connections between everybody in that working group and some pretty dodgy people.
Yeah, so David Rose, our Director of Policy and Research, did a deep dive into the members of the working group and discovered that they all, more or less all, had connections with Islamist groups dating back. You know, one of the members of the working group had actually stood as a candidate for the Respect Party in Tower Hamlets in 2010. George Galloway's old outfit. You know, you'll recall that George Galloway praised Saddam Hussein, and you know, the Respect Party has long been an Islamist party. So yeah, there were some really dubious connections between members of the working group and various Islamist organisations like the Respect Party. So it's pretty clear what their agenda is.
And also in this definition, it does actually manage to sort of bring in the word racism or racist. Again, this idea has to be constantly pushed that Islam is an ideology. Muslims who are people who follow that ideology and can be any particular race. So to try and in any way classify it as an ethnicity, as a race, it's a way of stopping any real ability for us to criticise the ideology and instead just go, well, you're some kind of bigot or you're some kind of racist.
Yeah, there was one of the reasons that the publication of the definition was held up, reportedly, is because there was a lot of wrangling behind the scenes about whether to include racism in the definition. And it's not included in the headline definition, but it is included in the guidance. And clearly, they don't want to the people who've come up with this and the government don't want to surrender the idea that criticising Muslims, criticising Islam, is a species of racism and should be frowned upon in exactly the same way.
So it does make these points that you can criticise Islam. Does it specifically say that we can point to the role that religion played within the grooming gangs, the rape gangs, that we're allowed to, that's OK? Does it say anything like that in these caveats, these many thousands of words after the definition that obviously no one's ever going to read?
No, it doesn't say that. I mean, part of the kind of wrong-headedness of coming up with this definition is it's part of a broader strategy that the government has come up with to promote social cohesion, to tackle extremism, seemingly in the wake of the Gorton and Denton by-election and the growth of sectarianism in our politics, which we also saw at the 24 general election. Gaza supporting independent candidates when they win, shouting, Allahu
Akbar.
Allahu Akbar.
Yeah.
So the government seemingly are aware that there's a problem. They need to address it. There hasn't been any revision of our counter-extremism strategy in over 10 years, not a serious revision. So, maybe what they're trying to do is well-meant, but to identify anti-Muslim hostility as the biggest challenge to social cohesion just seems to be willfully blind. Today, the Al-Quds demonstration, people chanting death to Israel. The number of attacks on Jews on a per capita basis dwarfs the number of hate crimes committed against Muslims. We know from a report in the Times a couple of days ago that hate crimes committed against Muslims are twice as likely to be prosecuted as hate crimes committed against Jews. It isn't mosques that are being routinely attacked, it's synagogues. It isn't people going on demonstrations chanting death to Pakistan. The problem we face is not anti-Muslim hostility, it's anti-Jewish hostility. But the government make almost no mention of that when they unveil this social cohesion strategy.
Well, this is exactly, I'm going to be talking about this later on in the show, and whether we're allowed to call out the anti-Semitism that's within Islam. Will that in itself make me the bigot for calling that out? That seems to be my interpretation of what they're saying. Well, and frankly, it's terrifying. It's to shut down the debate, and so we can't actually point at some real issues here. As Steve Reed says, if you can't name an issue, the problem that Islam has with Jews, then you can't deal with any solutions.
And absolutely. And I think if you were to claim that there's something endemically anti-Semitic about Islam or certain forms of Islam, then you would be, I think, found guilty of breaching this new definition.
Tune in later to see me to see me break that.
Luckily, the definition is. I mean, it isn't live yet. There is still an opportunity.
I've got a window. I can just quickly.
It's a small window. Yeah, maybe next week.
8 o'clock. That's where it's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, another way in which I think this is a completely wrong-headed approach to dealing with division and extremism in our society. Maybe there is some anti-Muslim hostility.
There is.
Of course there is.
Yeah.
But the way to address it is not to grant Muslims these additional protections, to privilege them above other faiths. I think if there is any anti-Muslim hostility, it's partly based on this perception that Muslims enjoy a special status, that they are more protected than other groups in our society. So to grant them this particular additional layer of protection is only going to increase hostility towards Muslims. It's not going to reduce it.
Yeah, it's insane. It's going to go on. Good luck with the fight legally. We don't have enough time to talk about this, but I just want to say congratulations on the eradication of the non-crime hate incidents, which you passed through Lords this week. That is a huge deal. We've been talking about that on the show for years now, and I've got to be honest with you, I'm very happy to not ever talk about it again.
They may come roaring back like Freddy Krueger, but for the time being, there is a stake through the heart of non-crime hate incidents thanks to this amendment being passed to the Crime and Policing Bill in the House of Lords last week.
Well, thank you very much, and as my people say, mazel tov. Big round of applause, please, for Lord Young joining us. The Islamophobia Working Group definition spokesperson has said, "We are absolutely committed to defending freedom of speech, and any proposed definition must be compatible with the right to freedom of speech and expression. The independent working group has been engaging extensively with a wide range of communities, will provide independent, evidence-based advice to ministers." Next on Free Speech Nation, our panel of comedians answering this week's most pressing questions from our studio audience. See you in a couple of minutes.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Elia, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to stop. You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Sorry. We were just in the middle of a fantastic story. Welcome back to Free Speech Nation, where my comedian guests this evening are Cresta Wetton and Miriam Elia. Hello. How are you, Cresta? You all right?
Very good, yes, very well.
I saw your dad's out there.
We've been doing DIY today, Josh. It's been a long day.
It's Mother's Day.
Yeah, I know, the irony, right, yeah. She got flowers.
OK, fair enough. Have you had a nice Mother's Day?
Fantastic.
What'd you get?
A day off. Yeah!
And you came here. Thank you so much. Well, look, let's get to some work then. We're going to have some questions from our audience. Our first question is from Anton.
Are men good comedy actresses?
Yes, are men good comedy actresses? The Telegraph criticises Jordan Gray's nomination in the female comedy category at the Royal Television Society Awards, arguing it ignores biology. It calls trans-inclusive feminism contradictory and unfair to cisgender women. Oh, I hate that word. Some see the choice as emblematic of cultural inconsistency. Well, yes. Well, look, I've got two female comedians here, female-identifying comedians here. Cresta, what do you think? There were 4 women nominated, but one wasn't a woman.
That's my feeling on the matter, yes. I have seen this trans woman's penis, not in a private space. No,
me too, we all have.
Well, we all have, exactly. So I'm quite confident about that. Yeah, it's not on, is it? And it makes me laugh, because I remember being in gigs and there'd always be women complaining at the back of comedy clubs saying, oh, it's so much easier for men, and yet we know lots of women have been cheering this on.
Well, that is the irony here, is that this demand, rightly so, for fair representation, suddenly those same women are like, now that it's sort of cut down by 25%, none of them are speaking up. I haven't seen any female comics.
Maybe it's like an unconscious desire to eliminate themselves.
Do you think so? You think it's that?
Yeah,
that explains so much.
Self-hatred.
Yes, I actually think a lot of people's actions they don't understand themselves why they would make that decision. You know, I was trying to talk to you earlier about progressivism. That as a progressive, you have to go in the face of common sense every time and just go, no, there's no common sense, there's no reality. So maybe this is like nature's way of, I don't know, getting them out of it. I don't know. I can't understand it in any other way than it's completely unconscious, that there's no rationale behind it.
Well, Cresta, hopefully next year, all of the people nominated in the female category will be men.
Well, they'll all have a penis.
They'll all have a willy. That's where we're going, right?
You're announcing something here. Are you branching out?
Yeah, look, if it'll get me a nomination, I'll do what it takes.
Well, it might.
It's a shame, though, because this guy we were saying was quite talented and...
Jordan Gray is an extraordinary performer.
Yeah.
There's no question about that.
What he could do with his willy is...
No, but he's an extraordinary performer, but instead of talking about his performance, you know, it's this bloody categorisation stuff, isn't it?
Absolutely. And sadly, the sitcom, or the show that got released after the stage show I'm talking about, hasn't had good reviews.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I watched about 20 minutes and it was painful. And the fact that he has been nominated for any kind of award for what I consider some terrible overreacting is an insult in and of itself, let alone to women. Right, our next question is from Roger.
Hello. Can you fight against the super rich by stealing from the poor?
Yes, can you fight against the super rich by stealing from the poor? This is left-wing group Take Back Power staged a nationwide shoplifting spree, taking food from supermarkets in 4 cities. They donated the items to food banks, framing it as protests against billionaires hoarding wealth. So, pot noodles, basically. No arrests were made, and activists called it non-violent action to pressure the government. Of course, what these absolute idiots don't seem to understand is that poor people will be paying the price when supermarkets put up their prices.
Exactly. That's what happens, isn't it? So...
I mean, are these people stupid as well as mental?
They are.
No, I think they're amoral. They don't have any one thing in their head saying that I shouldn't steal. It doesn't matter how rich someone is or how poor someone is, you shouldn't steal.
There's never a job. So you're
They just want to transgress that boundary, and they use other people's circumstances in order to emotionally convince themselves that they can go and steal something.
Well, someone doesn't like Kevin Costner and Prince of Thieves.
Yeah, this is very Robin Hood, isn't it? I hate that.
You're the Sheriff of Nottingham. I go, excuse me, I don't think that you have... No, you're wearing green. You actually look a little bit like...
Thanks. This is my panto look.
This is your Robin Hood
Yeah.
thing.
It's so annoying, isn't it? I mean, I find food banks annoying anyway, because if you wanted to give food to people, you wouldn't buy it at retail price, 1 can of beans at a time. It just doesn't make any sense. And what that tells me is it's all about the person doing it rather than the people at the end receiving the goods. And as you've said, it's going to put the price of goods up anyway. So it's just 17-year-old A-level politics, isn't it? It's appalling. I hope they do get arrested.
Yeah, but it's 17 A-level politics with a lot of people who should know better.
Yeah, well, absolutely, yeah.
Pension as well.
A serious arrested development.
In a way, it's their own narcissism of virtue signalling, like, I'm doing it for the poor.
Yeah, but that's the left. Well done. Right. And I say that as someone who somewhat considers himself on the left-ish sometimes.
10 minutes a week.
We'll see. When I'm in the supermarket and I'm stealing for the weekly food, then suddenly I'm on the left. Right, our next question is from Jeff.
Hi, Josh. Should you be allowed to mark your own homework?
Yeah, should you be allowed to mark your own homework? The BBC has upheld just 200 of its nearly 2.3 million complaints since 2017, prompting accusations it acts as judge and jury. Newswatch claims that the complaint system is inadequate and erodes public trust. The broadcaster defends its process, highlighting Ofcom oversight and Stage 1 resolutions. Wow, 200 upheld out of 2.3 million.
Well, it just shows you that the BBC is so subsumed in its own self-righteousness. You know, Auntie wraps her cloak around these people and you mustn't disagree with her.
Absolutely. I mean, one of the first things I remember being on the show talking about years ago was when the BBC refused to admit that it accused these Jewish teenagers of being racist when they were subject to a racist attack. They never really sort of came out and made a full mea culpa about it. It's very frustrating. Should they be able to mark their own homework?
Your complaint never got answered then.
Strangely,
You're not one
no.
of the 200.
And then I was like, well, I'm going to stay here on Free Speech Nation and talk about it for years.
Look what you've done, BBC. Should they be allowed to mark their own homework? No, not. I mean, I'm clearly. I'd bet there's some hilariously unreasonable complaints, and I'd love to read them. I bet they'd be hilarious. But 200 out of how many million? 2.3 million.
Yeah.
I mean, just they ought to answer some more than that just to keep us happy. It's so obviously not OK. No, they shouldn't be able to make those decisions.
No, absolutely.
I can just imagine, you know, like a lost property department. You know, it was like
complaints.
one man. You know, I remember losing something at the BBC once when I worked there, and there was just one lonely guy, and he was like smoking. He was like, "Yeah, I got it round the back." Like he's the complaints department, and he's got this like printer. Oh, another one's come off, and then he goes, scrunch it up, throw it away. There's like a million balls of scrunched up. I feel like that's probably the close to the reality.
That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, a BBC spokesman said the BBC has one of the most open and comprehensive systems for handling complaints in the UK media, regulated by a fully independent regulator in Ofcom, which, in its most recent major research project, found very high levels of sophistication in our system. The vast majority of complaints are addressed and resolved at stage 1 of the process, with only a small portion progressing to the Executive Complaints Unit for further consideration, so no meaningful comparison can be drawn from outcomes between the two stages. The ECU uphold complaints where they consider there to have been a breach of editorial standards. So I guess you're a man in a room.
And then
it still might be true, I don't know.
The Ofcom guy comes in as well and goes, "You're right, yeah."
Well, look, our final question for the moment is from Mark.
Yes, good evening. I was just wondering who you thought was greatest, Winston Churchill or Sonic the Hedgehog?
Yes, who's greater, Winston Churchill or Sonic the Hedgehog? We've got a lovely shot of your midsection there, by the way. Thank you, Mark. So the Bank of England has redesigned banknotes, replacing historical figures like Winston Churchill with UK wildlife such as hedgehogs. Yep. The move aims to reduce divisiveness and improve counterfeit protection. Some argue it erases national history and panders to progressive trends. Krista, Winston Churchill, greatest Englishman, British person.
I think he's done enough.
He's done all right. Yeah. Why can't we just commission a new portrait of him?
Because we don't like hierarchies, and nobody can be offended by a hedgehog. I'm sure somebody can. I can't wait to hear from them. But generally, is it you? But they don't like a hierarchy, do they? We're not allowed to celebrate greatness.
Shakespeare.
Oh, great.
Jane Austen.
Great choice. There's loads. But no, we're going to have a hedgehog, which is lovely, but, you know, it's not enough.
No. What do you think about this? It's the erasure.
Nonsense. It's a load of twee nonsense.
Twee nonsense.
It's
there we go.
a generation raised on Sylvanian families. They've taken over, and they want to make everything into this silly little wildlife scene so they don't offend anybody. Well, it's them that's offensive.
Wow, look at you getting so passionate. Right, next on Free Speech Nation, are Labour's plans to scrap jury trials the beginning of a slow creep towards authoritarianism? I thought we were already there. Plus, at 8 p.m, my take for the Centre of Media Monitoring and the rise of anti-Semitic attacks this week. You do not want to miss that. See you in a couple of minutes.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Wet and windy weather will dominate the central Mediterranean over the next few days, bringing some heavy rain and rough seas to some areas. But actually, it's a fine outlook on Monday for many parts of the Canary Islands, Madeira and in particular Iberia. Plenty of sunshine here. Some heavy rain and squally winds for Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily and southern parts of Italy, though. Heavy rain, perhaps even some flooding in places. But that unsettled weather moves down to southern parts of Greece and into Turkey by Tuesday and Wednesday, leaving a fine outlook for many other parts of Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and we still have some blustery showers moving through tonight and into Monday morning. It calms down for a little while before then the next weather system moves in. Over the course of the night we do have a cold northwesterly flow bringing those showers in. We can see across the whole of the country this evening and overnight. Some of those showers will be heavy with some hail and thunder across the northwest of the UK, but also the risk of snow over the hills and mountains. Under any clear skies overnight, temperatures will dip away down to 3 or 4 degrees in a few spots, so patchy frost, some icy stretches possible to start Monday morning, and a mixed start. There will be some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers. Showers most frequent across parts of Scotland. Some of these will be on the heavy side, still falling as snow over the mountains, but there will be some sunshine too, particularly for Aberdeenshire. A mixture of sunny spells and showers for parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England. Whereas actually much of England and Wales will be largely dry. There'll be some bright or sunny spells around after that chilly start to the morning. Cloud increases from the west as we move through the day on Monday. Outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, western fringes of England and Wales as we approach lunchtime. Sunshine becoming limited to the far east, and then eventually rain reaching eastern parts by mid-afternoon. Some southern counties of England will stay dry, temperatures here around 12 or 13 Celsius, but with winds coming in from the southwest, double figures for much of the UK. On Tuesday, it will be a cloudy start for many. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle, particularly in the west. Some heavier rain for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later on in the day. An increasing chance of some sunshine across southeast England as we move through into the afternoon. And here temperatures lifting towards the mid-teens and higher further come Wednesday and Thursday towards 20 Celsius.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you. Bulletins on GB News,
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Elia, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
GB Loyalty Points is here. They're our way of saying thank you for spending time with GB News. Through commenting on your say, voting in You Decide polls and shaping the debate, you can earn GB Loyalty Points. Unlock rewards, reach milestones and climb leaderboards. Don't just watch our programmes, come and be part of them. Get started by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/loyalty points.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Now, more than 3,000 lawyers, including hundreds of senior barristers and retired judges, have urged the government to drop plans to restrict some jury trials. In a letter to Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, they argue the proposal to replace juries with a single judge in certain cases lacks evidence and will not solve record delays in criminal courts. Here is what Justice Secretary David Lammy said earlier this week.
It's an average of 255 days before a Crown Court case gets heard and finishes. And for rape, it's a staggering 423 days. If we do nothing, the backlog is projected to reach 200,000 within the next decade.
I'm now joined by the barrister Dennis Kavanagh. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Josh.
The way that they're framing this in Parliament in these debates is that they're doing this for the victims.
Yeah,
There's no evidence whatsoever that any of these proposals are going to help a single victim. They haven't piloted this. They've done no research into this. They've just come up with this figure from nowhere, where Sir Brian Leveson, who wrote the report behind this legislation, said that he estimated there'd be a 20% reduction in trial time if you didn't have a jury. But when the Institute for Government recently looked at this, they said the gains would be marginal at best, reducing the time of a trial by 1.5 to 2.5%. And even that very marginal gain could in any event be eaten up by the fact that under the Courts and Tribunals Bill, Crown Court judges are being asked to do a load more things. They're going to have to look at appeals from the magistrates now in a way that they don't presently, and read grounds of appeal and then write out whether they agree with them or disagree with them. In addition to which, the government have said, unusually, this piece of legislation should be retrospective. So our Crown Court judges are now expected to go through the backlog and say, well, this would get 3 years and this wouldn't. So this line about we're doing all this for victims is completely open to question. And I might add this, Josh. The Institute for Government also said this bill raises the sentencing power of the magistrates from 12 months to 18 months and in due course to 24 is their plan. You can see you get more work in the magistrates. The Institute for Government says it's a 10 to 15% increase in the magistrates. We don't have enough magistrates. What about all the victims there? They're going to be stuck in a longer queue for potentially very serious cases. So this line the government have come up with, that it's victims versus the lawyers, is open to scrutiny. And in particular, this line that it's something to do with rape victims is really odd for the government to take. The minimum sentence for rape on the rape sentencing guidelines is, in fact, 4 years. These proposals only affect cases where the sentence is 3 years or higher. So we can see, can't we? You'd always have a jury there. So I think we have to treat very cautiously a government suddenly branding itself.
It's quite disgusting that they're using victims in this way.
Some people have called it exploitation, Josh. Some people have pointed that out and said, hang on a minute. There have been letters this week and very strident expressions from some very senior King's Counsel, Flora Page, King's Counsel, who resigned from a public body at this, made exactly the point that you're making there, which is, hang on a minute, you're emotively using victims in order to railroad this through Parliament. There's no need for this very quick timetable that this has been given. And some people are cynically asking, well, are they going on about victims to distract from the fact that none of this was in their manifesto?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, there are other things that they can do to sort this out, right? The courts have been massively underinvested in. Yeah. That's not going to solve it, but if they actually put some money into it, it might. And also, just the way that they use the courts. I understand that if they just used a more efficient system of bookings, that would have a massive impact.
Well, until very recently, we had idle Crown Courts, as they're called. We had courts sitting empty, not because barristers, solicitors, judges are lazy and don't fancy doing it, but because the government wouldn't authorise the courts to sit because it came from a particular budget. Now, the government announcing this bill have now increased court sitting days so that courts can sit all they like. And there's your argument. Why not allow that to take place? Why not allow courts to spread good practice? Liverpool Crown Court has made enormous strides in reducing their backlogs. The Crown Courts in Wales have as well. Why not let those sensible reforms bed in before we take this dramatic and radical step of wiping out a fundamental right that sits at the heart of our criminal justice system?
800 years of history. Of rights gone. Arguably the first real right that ordinary human beings, citizens of this country had. And Labour, this government, is going to take it away.
Well, if you poll the public, it's the most popular rights that people have. And it is the right that is our most valuable and proven safeguard, not just against injustice, but against lots of other problems we have in society. A very clever man in 2020 wrote that the jury was a really important protection, particularly for young black men who disproportionately do badly in the criminal justice system. And the person who wrote that report was none other than David Lammy. The jury system has shown itself time and time again not just to be a vital safeguard that people can rely upon, but something that the public trusts. So tearing that up in these circumstances is an extraordinary thing to do. And it's extraordinary to see a Labour government, just as an adjunct to this. Bump a load of cases down into the magistrates. It's harder to get legal aid in the magistrates. If you're earning above £22,000, you won't get it. So these are people traditionally Labour says that they worry about, that they want to represent. There's going to be lots of people up for fairly serious offences now, for offences that can carry sentences of up to 18 months and 2 years.
My understanding is it's also harder to then fight against the judgment.
That's absolutely right.
So there could be a miscarriage of justice, and then you can't even question the miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, at the moment, if you are convicted in the magistrates, you can appeal as of right to the Crown Court. You can go there, no questions asked, and you have a complete rehearing. What the government wants to do is get rid of that right, take it away, and it wants instead for a Crown Court judge, these are the same Crown Court judges who are going to be sat there apparently doing the work of these judge-alone trials, to then sit on these appeal applications and say yes, no, yes, no. And just while we're on judges, could I make the point as well? We live in a febrile world, I mean, you and I know this, particularly so far as social media is concerned, right? What are the government thinking, taking a bunch of Crown Court judges who can't answer their critics back in public and throwing them to the wolves of social media? Because you and I know that a judgment, you know, not all jury verdicts, not all judge verdicts, if this comes into pass, are going to be popular. Judges can't answer back. Judges are going to be the ones who get their faces, maybe even their addresses put on social media.
Yeah. And just one final point is that Sir Keir Starmer, I believe, wrote something in 1992 about how in the Troubles, not having jury trials led to a bunch of misjustices.
Yeah, I think he called it a sort of conveyor belt for injustice.
Crazy. Well, look, big round of applause, please. Barrister Dennis Kavanagh. A government spokesperson said on jury trials, we must recognise that our justice system has changed. Technology means there is more evidence than ever before, and trials for more complex cases, such as those involving sex offences and online fraud, are taking longer to go in front of a jury. Our changes will prioritise jury trials for the most serious cases, helping victims get fairer and faster justice. Next on Free Speech Nation, the US court battle over whether trans women can be allowed into a female-only nude spa. See you in 2 minutes.
I'm Michelle Dewberry, this is Jubes & Co with you.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie is here. GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection. Tune in to GB News, anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. A heated clash erupted on the Ninth Circuit Court in the US this week after Judge Lawrence Van Dyke used explicit language in a dissent about a Washington women-only spa case involving transgender access. More than 24 judges condemned the wording as vulgar and inappropriate for a judicial opinion. Van Dyke defended it, saying the blunt language reflects the reality of the dispute. The case could now head to the US Supreme Court. I'm now joined by the American lawyer, Kara Dansky. Hello, welcome, Kara. How are you?
Hi, thanks so much.
So the language, we can't use it really. He's talked about swinging with appendages. That's the nice way of saying it here. But it seems like in the US, everybody's sort of gone, you can't say that, whilst allowing people with swinging appendages in front of children and women in a spa.
Yeah, so one of the main issues is that the sentence in question is the very first sentence of Judge Van Dyke's opinion. He just says it. He says, this is a case about swinging. And as you say, this is about a female-only spa. I've actually been there. I went a couple of times when I lived in Seattle. And in 2020, a man, fully intact, got upset about its female-only policy and filed a complaint before the Washington Human Rights Commission, arguing that the female-only policy violates his human rights. Now, so what is on there right now is what he said on social media after he won before the Washington State Human Rights Commission. And part of the reason that he won before the Washington State Human Rights Commission is that Washington state law defines the phrase sexual orientation to include a bunch of things, including so-called gender identity. So the Washington State Human Rights Commission found that he was right and that the spa was in violation of state law.
Wow, because this reminds me of a case, the We Spa, which people may remember from quite a long time ago. It was a similar incident where a man was walking around saying that they're a woman, walking around nude, just a biological male, in front of a 6-year-old, and the mother complained, and she was told she was a bigot, and I remember there were riots, and then it turns out the man was a sex offender.
Correct. And he was actually charged with 9 felony counts of indecent exposure and eventually acquitted because of a similar California law that defines the word sex absolutely nonsensically. So, moving on. So the spa did something which I thought was a bit extraordinary, which was it sued the Washington State Human Rights Commission in federal court, which was quite good, although I did not appreciate the arguments they were advancing. They were advancing primarily arguments related to religious liberty. Of course, I think that people should be able to have religious liberty, but that's not my favorite issue in this case, which I thought should be a case about women's right to female-only spaces. So, Women's Declaration International USA, and by the time the case got to the Ninth Circuit, WDI USA decided to file a friend of the court brief before that court. But I should say, at the district court level, the spa still lost because of the way that Washington State defines the phrase sexual orientation.
Wow, and as you say, this judge, this big sort of hoo-ha because of the way that they framed it, which is just as most human beings would understand it. Yet, a lot of other judges have gotten very, very upset with that language.
So, Right. The argument, the WTI USA put forth 3 arguments in its friend of the court brief. 1, we argued that to the extent that state law elevates so-called gender identity over sex, it violates women's constitutional equal protection. 2, we argued that if a man is permitted to enter a nude female-only spa naked, he necessarily perpetrates the crimes of indecent exposure and assault. And 3, we argued in favor of a very straightforward ruling that uses straightforward and clear language that accurately describes sex. Now, we didn't get that. We ended up getting
Sorry, it seems like the madness continues in America. Thank you so much for joining us. That is the end of the first hour of Free Speech Nation. Don't go away. There's lots more to come to you now at 9 o'clock.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and we still have some blustery showers moving through tonight and into Monday morning. It calms down for a little while before then the next weather system moves in. Over the course of the night we do have a cold northwesterly flow bringing those showers in. We can see across the whole of the country this evening and overnight. Some of those showers will be heavy with some hail and thunder across the northwest of the UK, but also the risk of snow over the hills and mountains. Under any clear skies overnight, temperatures will dip away down to 3 or 4 degrees in a few spots, so patchy frost, some icy stretches possible to start Monday morning, and a mixed start. There will be some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers. Showers most frequent across parts of Scotland. Some of these will be on the heavy side, still falling as snow over the mountains, but there will be some sunshine too, particularly for Aberdeenshire. A mixture of sunny spells and showers for parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England. Whereas actually much of England and Wales will be largely dry. There'll be some bright or sunny spells around after that chilly start to the morning. Cloud increases from the west as we move through the day on Monday. Outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, western fringes of England and Wales as we approach lunchtime. Sunshine becoming limited to the far east, and then eventually rain reaching eastern parts by mid-afternoon. Some southern counties of England will stay dry, temperatures here around 12 or 13 Celsius, but with winds coming in from the southwest, double figures for much of the UK. On Tuesday, it will be a cloudy start for many. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle, particularly in the west. Some heavier rain for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later on in the day. An increasing chance of some sunshine across southeast England as we move through into the afternoon. And here temperatures lifting towards the mid-teens and higher further come Wednesday and Thursday towards 20 Celsius.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Box Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
A camper van and cash could be yours in our very latest Great British Giveaway. You could be driving away in this brand new Benavan 122. This 2026 model, worth over £67,000, comes with all of the mod cons you'd expect. And that's not all, as you'll also get an incredible £25,000 in tax-free cash to boost your bank account this year. For another chance to win a camper van and cash, text prize to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB20 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of May. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
and each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Elia, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB Newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power?
Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber.
Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics.
We'll see where this ruling takes us.
These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun. No, he didn't say that, Dave. I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Plenty more still to come on Free Speech Nation this week, including my take on this week's rise of anti-Jew hate crimes across the world. When is enough enough? And can we call out who is responsible? First, we're going to get the news update from Aaron Armstrong.
Thank you, Josh. Good evening to you. Our headlines. The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, insists the government will stand by the British people if the war in the Middle East results in a fresh energy price crisis. Oil and gas costs have surged as a result of Iran's closure of the Strait of Hormuz. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is expected to announce a support package this week to help households that use heating oil. The government's also considering halting its plans to raise fuel duty. Mr Miliband has also said that Britain could deploy mine-hunting drones to the Strait after President Trump urged allies to send warships to secure the safety of shipping in the region. Meanwhile, Iran's Foreign Minister Abbas Araghchi says Tehran never asked for a ceasefire after Donald Trump claimed Iran wanted a deal, but then said the terms aren't yet good enough to make one. Israel says it's expanded the scope of its strikes in western and central Iran, including an attack on what's understood to be the IRGC's police headquarters in the city of Hamadan. Lebanon separately says 850 people have been killed by Israeli attacks there over the past 2 weeks. And Iran has launched further strikes at US allies across the Middle East, including Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Kuwait and Israel. And the UK's former National Security Advisor, Sir Mark Lyle-Grant, says it's not working out well for either side.
Most objective observers, including myself, think that both sides are probably losing. The one winner that I see today, 2 weeks into this conflict, is Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu, because I think Israel does have clear objectives and it is achieving them. And Israel doesn't really mind how long this conflict goes on or what is the end state at the end of it.
That's Sir Mark Lyle-Grant. Now, the captain of the Iranian women's football team has become the latest player to withdraw her bid for Australian asylum. Zahra Janbari, seen here to the right of Australia's Home Affairs Minister Tony Burke, will fly back to Iran, making her the fifth member of the delegation to change her mind. It comes after 3 other women also dropped their asylum applications, meaning now just 2 of the 7 offered humanitarian visas remain in the country. Rights groups say their families in Iran have been threatened by the regime. 12 arrests have been made as protesters and counter-protesters gathered in central London for the Al-Quds Day demonstration. Pro-Palestinian protesters met on one side of the Thames, with those backing the US and Israel war on Iran on the other. Some 1,000 officers were drafted in to try to manage the crowds. The arrests were for those showing support for a prescribed organisation, for a fray and for threatening or abusive behaviour. Some people held banners reading Free Palestine and No to Israeli occupation. Others displayed pictures of the late leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Police have released a description of distinctive tattoos on a man found dead in a wheelie bin on Friday as they attempt to identify him. The body was discovered at Cash's Park off Daimler Road in Coventry. The man, thought to be in his 40s or 50s, had a tattoo of a cross with a snake wrapped around it on his back with the words "Little Stardust," and another of a clover and the colours of the Irish flag on his right arm. Officers believed he was hit by a car before being moved to the site. Right, that's it for the moment. Much more to come a little later this evening, but now it's back to Josh.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. Toronto, 3 separate synagogues shot at. Amsterdam, a bomb exploded at a Jewish school. Rotterdam, an explosion and arson attack at a synagogue. Oslo, men arrested with explosives and weapons near a synagogue. Liège, an explosion at a synagogue. Paris, a 14-year-old Jewish girl assaulted and threatened with death for being Jewish. Michigan, a man rammed a vehicle full of explosives and opened fire on a synagogue containing a preschool that at the time was filled with 140 children, all reported just over the last week. And here in Manchester last month, 2 men jailed for planning to use automatic firearms to murder as many Jews as possible, in the same city where months earlier 2 Jews were killed when a man attacked a synagogue. The far right sure have been busy. Oh, this time it's not the far right. Well, who is it then? Who seems to be so very invested in the murdering of Jews across the world? Are we allowed to say that all those arrested have been, Muslims? Well, apparently not, if the Centre of Media Monitoring get their way, where I myself am named in their latest report, which coincidentally also came out this week. They don't like that last year, after the Manchester synagogue attack, where Adrian Dolby and Melvin Kravitz were killed, I called out the antisemitism within Islam. Here's what they had to say about me. Throughout the article, individual acts of violence and the actions of extremists are repeatedly framed as products of the ideology of Islam. Wait, let's just pause a sec. What ideology did Jihad al-Shami follow then? Buddhism? Was it communism? Gender ideology? Perhaps he was a transhumanist. What ideology is it that connects all those who over the last week have tried to murder Jews? I better not say. Let's continue. With selective references to Quranic and Hadith presented without theological context or acknowledgement of interpretive diversity. They were probably referring to something like the Sahih Bukhari Hadith, which states the hour will not be established until you fight with the Jews, and the stone behind which a Jew will be hiding will say, "Oh Muslim, there is a Jew hiding behind me, so kill him." Lots of interpretive diversity required there. Perhaps the stone represents the far left and kill really means hug. You know, it's open to interpretation. Who then are the anodyne-sounding Centre of Media Monitoring? Well, a report entitled Bad Faith Actor by Policy Exchange tells us this self-appointed unrepresented group seeks, in its own words, to take control of the narrative about Muslims. And the problem is that this organisation, despite saying their vision is simply responsible reporting of Islam and of Muslims, seems to ignore the massive issue of antisemitism within Islam, and whilst also criticising TV shows for showing Muslims who are gay or don't want to wear the hijab, all whilst having support from Labour MPs and people like Richard Burgess, the BBC's Director of News Content, who spoke at a Centre of Media Monitoring meeting in Parliament, or Alistair Campbell providing a supportive quote of their analysis. And now we have a new government definition of anti-Muslim hostility, where the utterly surreal situation arises that I, a Jew, point out that the tsunami of racist violence this week directed across the world against Jews were all carried out by Muslims as a result of them following the ideology of Islam, then it is actually I who am the bigot. What then if I were to make the observation that there are indeed lots of good Muslims out there, and that we in the West would classify these good Muslims as pluralistic, tolerant, gay-friendly, Jew-friendly, for female empowerment, against blasphemy laws? What we in the West can't seem to get our head around is that for the majority of Muslims, those who follow the ideology of Islam, these good Muslims are in fact the bad Muslims. Let me put it this way. You might get a Muslim who occasionally enjoys a little tipple, but you can't then say that by doing so he is following the tenets of Islam. And whilst we should be having these conversations, arguably we need to be having these conversations, you have a British MP using the work of the Centre of Media Monitoring as it was intended to, surprise, surprise, accuse news organisations of bigotry and pushing biased narratives, aka facts. Facts, like there is a serious anti-Semitism problem within Islam. That has to be acknowledged and addressed, because certain followers of that ideology are trying to kill Jews all the time. I'd argue that rather than be some bar graph of shame, that graphic is a clear illustration of which media organisations are most likely to tell the truth. I noticed The Guardian isn't on it, who yesterday published an insane article justifying that because Islamists in support of the Iranian regime that recently murdered 40,000 of their own people are only allowed to attend a rally today instead of a march, then it's OK to smash windows and repeatedly graffiti a coffee shop in North London because one of its founders is Jewish. It's probably Islamophobic to point out that Jews are 12 times more likely than Muslims to be victims of hate, yet the CPS are twice as likely to prosecute anti-Muslim hate crimes than those against Jews. It's probably Islamophobic to mention that a Muslim MP, Zara Sultana, posted that they love killing kids, and Zionism is one of the greatest threats to humanity. An impressive combination of what seems to be medieval blood libel and, as reported in a complaint to the Parliamentary Standards Watchdog, the phrase threat to humanity appeared repeatedly in Nazi anti-Semitic materials portraying Jews as a malign force that must be eliminated for humanity's survival. What a perfect illustration of how anti-Zionism is just anti-Semitism for people who want to pretend that they're not racist. Anyway, Centre of Media Monitoring. Hopefully, I've given you enough material to add to next year's report, where I have committed the great crime of being a Jew who wasn't intimidated, won't be coward, and told the truth. We are joined now by the political commentator Fahima Mohammed. Hello, Fahima. I appreciate some of those words might not be appreciated by yourself. Do you think that Islam has an issue with Jews?
Absolutely not. And let's be precise, be very, very precise on matters and issues that are this sensitive. Anti-Semitism is hatred, prejudice, any sort of prejudice or hostility towards Jews as Jews, is obviously, again, some sort of one-sidedness that you've just spewed right now. Anti-Muslim hatred is hostility directed as Muslims as well. And there were over 4,500 anti-Muslim incidents in the last year recorded as well, which never gets the headlines. Just last few days, a woman wearing a hijab was rammed and nothing was on the mainstream. So do not make this as if it's one-sided, as you just say. There are both real, serious rising problems in Britain. And
question, the person who committed that crime, were they Jewish? Because whilst it may be true that, of course, not all Muslims try to murder Jews, it is very much true, isn't it, that all of these terrible incidents of terrorism that we've seen this week carried out against Jews have been carried out by Muslims.
I don't believe that any Muslim who follows their faith will carry out these things, and it's a false flag. It's so obvious. They scream, to God.
No, sorry, Fahima, can I just genuinely ask you a question? Those people who carried out these terrorist attacks against Jews this week, all across the world, you're saying they're not Muslims?
They're not all Muslims, no.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying that those people who carried out attacks, do you think they are Muslims?
The ones that carry out attacks of extremism that name under this flag or, religion of Islam is not. Just like how you would claim that people on the far right are saying that they're Christian and they actually hate anyone that is other than white. Same difference.
Yeah, but I think that's wrong as well, by the way. I can call that out and say it's wrong. But you don't seem to be able to say that the people who are carrying out these attacks on Jews in the name of Islam are themselves Muslims. It should be an easy thing to say there is an issue within Islam about anti-Semitism.
look, some of them may be portraying themselves and some of them are for whatever reason. I am not here to investigate individuals. But what I'm saying is, and to your question and to your monologue just now, by even associating anti-Zionism is not automatically the same thing as anti-Semitism. When we had the actual Professor David Miller, who was the professor at Bristol University, the British Tribunal held that anti-Zionist beliefs qualified, as a protected philosophical belief under Section 10.
Well, arguably anti-Semitic statements he's made since that point, where he's gone for Jews, not for Zionists, for Jews.
Exactly the point. There are different types of categories when you are talking about that. And not all, Zionists are actually Jewish. That's what we have to also understand. We have a huge amount of people that will also be Christian Zionists who support Israel for political, theological reasons, secular politicians in Britain.
But I don't understand what this has to do with Muslims trying to blow up and succeeding in blowing up and attacking synagogues across the world.
Well, again,
you don't think there's any issue?
No one condones that. No one believes that is correct, whether it's from the Muslim community or whether it's from the law itself. For you to just say that because it's from scripture, where every scripture, including the Torah, the Bible, will have this, and people can even, say what they want to say. It is not just Muslims, and Muslims who just call themselves Muslims don't necessarily actually practice the religion itself. There is a huge amount of sect, just like there is in Judaism. And for you to just blanket, everyone under the same banner is absolutely incorrect.
Well, I didn't blanket everyone. What I blanked is the religion of Islam, and there is a difference there, and that is why there is a problematic definition that has come in, I believe, from the government. But Fahima, it's very nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it. I should say that a Centre for Media Monitoring spokesperson has previously told GB News in regards to the policy exchange report, this report is nothing but a politically motivated hit job, riddled with inaccuracies, distortions and smears. It comes from an organisation that has long sought to influence our media into negatively framing Muslims. We stand by our rigorous findings and commitment to journalism serving the public interest. The policy exchange report includes a series of fabrications, in some cases defamatory claims. We do urge you to check their claims independently before repeating. So, and I would actually say read both of those and make your own decision. I am now joined by the journalist Nicole Lampert. Big round of applause. Nicole, you're Jewish, I'm Jewish. This has just been a really horrible week.
Another really horrible week.
Yeah. And you've written an article, just come out in The Telegraph, arguing what many people have for a long time now, that anti-Zionism, contrary to what was just said there, is actually anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I think there's the kind of historical anti-Zionism, which is before the State of Israel existed, which was arguments over whether Jews should have their own state. And that kind of argument was sort of put to bed after the Holocaust, where the world realised, yes, OK, maybe they do, maybe they can't be kept safe. So since that time, there's been a state, and it's now a state of 10 million people. So people who are against that state are saying that they want, presumably they want those people genocided or they want them disappeared. They certainly aren't talking about their safety. And quite often they are anti-Zionist, but they are pro-Palestinian, so they believe in nationhood for one people, but not for the other.
And interestingly, they're not talking about any other states that were created at the same time, like Pakistan being ceasing to exist.
There's never cause for any other state to not exist. Even right now, no one is saying that Russia should be dismantled or that Iran should be dismantled.
Of course, it's just Israel. Now, what I would say in adjunct to my monologue is that whilst the hatred is coming from the ideology of Islam, that people will take that hatred and use it towards attacking Jews, it seems to be that legitimacy for those attacks that we've seen over the last week comes from this anti-Zionism, where the progressives can sort of go, oh, no, it's not actually, don't worry about blowing up a synagogue and with 140 kids in it. No, it's because it's got the name Israel in the name.
Yeah, so we've actually seen progressives doing exactly that, excusing it. And of course, they're always going to find a link with a Jewish place to Israel, because Israel is central to Judaism. You know, whether or not you believe in the modern state of Israel, the books are full of the children of Israel.
Israel is mentioned in many times in the Quran.
Exactly. Yes. So, I mean, I would say about anti-Zionism is that actually it was an ideology that was kind of created by the Soviet Union and sent over to the Muslim world. So it's not fair to say that they're simply all Muslims have always hated Jews. Muslims and Jews did live together for many thousands of years. Jews were always seen as second-class citizens, as dhimmis, as were Christians.
And there were pogroms against Jews during that time.
There were pogroms during that time. But generally, actually, the worst anti-Semitism came from Europe and was exported both by the Nazis and the Soviets in the last century, and that's created this hatred. But what we see today now is that anti-Zionism links these two ideologies, the liberal ideology, woke liberal LGBTQ plus conservative Islam ideology. And we see that in the Greens, and we see that in your party or our party, whatever it's called. So we see that it's the only thing that really merges them together, and that we're going to see coming up in the next few weeks ahead of the local elections that they're going to be candidates, and they're going out on this ideology of for Gaza.
Not potholes or anything else that local elections
have anything to do with.
They would talk about. They're going to be talking about this conflict that's arguably now over. There is a ceasefire. There is hopefully peace on the horizon if Hamas give up their weapons.
There's nothing that local councils can do. There's nothing that even the British Prime Minister can do that will make any difference to the Gaza conflict. So this is just about the stewing up of Jew hate. And that's the thing with Jew hate, and that's why it's remained so popular throughout the centuries, because got a problem in your society, who can we blame? Oh, we'll blame the Jew. And that is what has happened.
But for different reasons. So if it would be sort of medieval times, it was religion, then it morphs into racial ideology with the Nazis, and now it's become, of course, about the Israeli state.
Yeah, people are only obsessed with Israel because of anti-Semitism, because of Jew hate. That is the only reason why it dominated our news headlines long after Ukraine and Russia had disappeared off of them. And that is why the BBC, for example, always had Israel stories like "What has Israel done wrong?" as clickbait. That's because there were thousands, millions of people that were willing to see what has Israel done wrong, and were marching in the streets, and are still marching in their streets about Israel. And as I said, they're going to be campaigning on this issue, which has nothing to do with British politicians, particularly not local British politicians.
And you've got people going door to door in the sort of demanding a kind of ideological fealty against Israel in the UK, and taking the addresses of people, including Jews, who say no. Sorry.
But there are plenty of Muslims that do stand against that, and there are Muslim countries that are
friendly. I mean, that's the crazy thing, is that the Israel has now allied with the UAE, and because of the Abrahamic Accords, hopefully there's going to be peace in Saudi Arabia. Yet over here in the UK, we're seeing this incredible division. And it's weird that across the diaspora we have these repeated incidents of violence and attacks on Jews by Muslims, when there is arguably peace coming, hopefully, in the Middle East.
Yeah, I mean, what you've got is actually, in Muslim countries themselves, they've had to fight against extremism, and often they have thrown out their extremist preachers, and who have found solace here and are able to be preaching in our mosques. And that is one of the issues, and that is... The government keeps throwing money at the Jewish community, just here's more protection, here's more protection. But to protect us and to protect our society, we need to look at the problem. And one of the problems is extremist preachers and how they are radicalising people. And it's the same with, obviously Iran at the moment, the Islamic Republic. We need to look at that. Like, why are we even allowing people on our streets to demonstrate a tool for the Ayatollah, who has been calling for not only the destruction of Israel and America, but the destruction of England, which also sees the little Satan? Other countries have prescribed the IRGC, the Iranian, the Ayatollah's private army. But here they are still allowed to run riot and even collect our charity money.
Yeah, and government officials will go and hang out at parties at the Iranian embassy, and journalists as well. Thank you very much for joining us, journalist Nicole Lampard, who wasn't at the Iranian embassy, I assume. Next on Free Speech Nation, our panel of comedians are going to be answering some more questions from our audience. See you in a few minutes.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Now, here's a fun story for you. Who needs a designated driver when the owner of the pub will take you home?
Yeah, he's really nice. He's Paul Hartfield, the owner of the Flying Horse near Ashford. And he offers patrons a ride home, provided they live within a 3-mile radius.
And he joins us now. It's good to see you this morning. It must keep you busy, Paul.
Sorry?
It must keep you busy. Running, you know, you take the money, you give them a few beers, then you have to drive them home afterwards.
I know, that's really over and above.
Exactly, but it's just a thing to do for the community. Really, we do a lot of charity work here. I don't accept any money from it. They donate in a box towards MND this year.
Yeah, no, good on you. I mean, we can see the black cab behind you there, because you used to be a black cab driver, didn't you?
No, I used to work in the industry. I was never a black cab driver.
Oh, right, so you bought a black cab just for this enterprise, have you?
Yes, yeah. But now the Ashford Borough Council have got involved and I shouldn't be doing it. I've been told that I can't do it.
But that's the interesting thing about it. You're fostering community spirit. And that's the whole point of what you're trying to do, and it's what pubs are renowned for. It's why we need to save them. It's all about community spirit and cohesion.
That's right. I mean, we do a tractor run every year as well. We raised just short of £7,000 in December for MND again. We've got one of our customers in the village. Her mum's got it, so it really hit home, actually.
Well, look, Paul, let us know how your case with the council goes, and we'll come and visit you again at some point.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up?
About 10. So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. My comedian guests again are Cresta Wetton and Miriam Elia. So we're going to get some more questions from our audience. And our first question is from John. John, that look, I'm so glad the camera was not on you there, because that was such a sinister look. That was terrifying.
Are homosexuals allowed to call themselves gay or lesbian?
Yeah, this is one of the craziest stories of the week. Are homosexuals allowed to call themselves gay or lesbians? UC Riverside professor argues that terms like gay and lesbian harm trans people by enforcing limiting categories. They advocate moving beyond sexual identifiers to explore desires and gender more fluidly. I should say they, because of course they are they, them. That was a very this article that they mentioned that they are they, them. So this is this is what gay people have said about gender ideology from the beginning, that it's all the TQIA plus is about erasing the LGB, and this is exactly what's happening.
Yeah, it could be it. And
Okay, thanks for that.
an endless number of letters, like I for incest and N for necrophilia and so on.
Okay, anyway, we're going to come away with that. No, that's not what it means intersex, and N, there is no N, and it's not about necrophilia. Anyway, sorry for that. Sit down. Who gave him a question? Oh my gosh! Look, I'm already in trouble with the Centre for Monitoring, whatever it is. Now you're going to get me in trouble with Hope Not Hate again.
It's hate not hope.
Hope not.
Are you out of trouble with that?
No, you're right. I'm in trouble with everybody. Okay. Right, but this is.
Won't somebody think of the trans?
Yes, exactly. This is harming trans people by a gay person saying that I am gay, by their biological reality being attracted to another person of the same sex. They are now some kind of bigot for enforcing hatred on and harm.
Ludicrous, isn't it? And it doesn't stop at gay and lesbian people. It's all of us, because I feel restricted by the categories of biology. Thank you. That's who they should be attacking. God, go and have a go at him, or biology. Unfortunately, sorry, they, them, OK. I mean, these categories exist, and I'm very confident about that.
Yeah, these are categories exist.
Tell you what, the categories exist and they won't exist in the future.
They, them.
Yeah.
Well, then they would say...
They'll just argue themselves into oblivion. They're not really invested in any kind of future.
Right.
Fine. Well, it's an incredible situation where it is like the next step of gender ideology.
It's so narcissistic. It is really narcissistic. It's completely evolved around them and their...
Well, that's an incredible accusation. Right, our next question's from Jeff. This is what the producer's saying. Move on, move on! Next question from Jeff.
Should Germany allow swastikas?
Should Germany allow swastikas? Well, that's going to be a much less controversial question there. Phew, we're back on steady ground. German columnist Rainer Zittelmann faces investigation for sharing a tweet comparing Putin to Hitler, despite condemning Nazism in his work. Some argue the country's anti-Nazi law is being misapplied, targeting free speech. The case highlights rising prosecutions under laws originally meant to curb extremist propaganda. Now, you understand why they put these laws in place in the first instance, but this is arguably going too far, surely, to just... He posted an image of Hitler and compared him to someone he thought was bad.
Well, I guess memories linger on, and it's 80 years on from that era, but I guess sensitivities are just still... very sensitive.
So. I mean, I believe that there are exemptions to this law, specifically to allow exactly this kind of criticism, but for some reason they don't seem to be using it.
Well, I think there's an understanding, isn't there? There's just an understanding that if you are writing and being critical of Hitler, that you've got a different licence to somebody who's saying, oh, he had some good ideas. It's that simple. And these people, I mean, they're either so stupid they don't understand that, or they're acting in bad faith. And it's kind of an argument for being a free speech absolutist, because when you put rules in place, people can't be trusted with them anyway. I think, are we up to 5 academics now who've faced this in Germany in the last few months?
It's definitely a growing problem, yeah.
The problem is, like any YouTube clip that you watch. I mean, I watched Sooty the other week with my kids, and there was a thing about Hitler at the end of it. I mean,
really?
Yeah, people
I think you might have been watching some AI Nazi Sooty.
No, I mean, there's always like a discussion after everything that you see on YouTube, and at some point they kind of talk about the Second World War.
Oh, in the comments.
In the comment section, or everyone I don't like is Hitler. I mean, it's really a moral sort of talking point.
Can I suggest that you put some sort of parental guidance on your YouTube?
I'm thinking about the comment section.
OK, fine. Look, our next question is from Anton.
Why are British journalists and civil servants celebrating the Islamic regime?
Yeah, we mentioned this earlier. Why are British journalists and civil servants celebrating the Islamic regime? Foreign Office staff attended a London event at the Iranian embassy celebrating the Islamic Revolution weeks after reports of tens of thousands of deaths in Iran. Critics called the attendance disgraceful and inappropriate given the regime's violence and terrorism. The Foreign Office defended its presence as standard diplomatic engagement. Well, Krista, there is an argument to be made that we need to maintain diplomatic ties, but surely that's a difference between going to an event that celebrates the setup
That's
of the regime.
not what this was. This was a glamorous party celebrating the regime's progress, whatever that means. It's absolutely outrageous. I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, I wish it wasn't me sitting here. I wish it was somebody that had been at that party so you could give them a good grilling and ask them what on earth they thought they were doing.
Yeah, and journalists as well. And there's been criticism, two CNN journalists, and there's been a lot of criticism about how CNN has covered the war in Iran. Also, the Sky journalist was also there, who is arguing that they need to be there as a journalist to get access to Iran. I could see that as an argument, but then you have to question what their output is accordingly.
Well, if they were like popping champagne, I mean, it's disgusting. I'm sorry. Like, you know, only weeks ago I was watching sort of body bags and 40,000, they think, in 1 week that they just massacred, mainly young people, you know, who just want to be free to walk around, have show their hair and sing a song or do a dance, whatever we take for granted in the West, they don't have. And then you have these apologists for this fascism over here. And yet again, they're the same group of people because they hate freedom, you know?
A spokesman for the Department of Foreign Affairs has previously said it is the job of its staff to maintain diplomatic relations with countries across the globe. They added diplomatic engagement of this kind is a normal part of how we protect our interests and people overseas, including those UK nationals who are currently being detained in Iran. Department guidance on National Day celebrations forbids staff from going to parties held by Belarus, Myanmar, Russia, Taiwan, Northern Cyprus or Venezuela. The ban extends to Iran, Afghanistan and Somalia in most instances, with decisions made on a case-by-case basis. But in this case, they seem to think it was OK. Our final question for the moment is from Barbara.
Are universities getting the message?
Yes, are universities getting the message? Thanks, Barbara. Dr. David Harris, stripped of his emeritus, that's why I will never have an emeritus title. Can't even pronounce it. Emeritus title at Plymouth Marjon University for critiquing critical race theory has had it reinstated. The Committee for Academic Freedom warned the removal was procedurally improper. The case raises concerns over how controversial research can be penalised in universities. Now, this is a rare good news story. They have come through, they fought it. We've talked about this story before on the show, and now he is a professor once again. It shows that actually pushing back against this madness does work.
Yeah, and it was madness. I mean, we can't have discussion at a university. We can't have people sharing ideas and having disagreements. But anyway, that's happened. Yeah, green shoots, great. Shout out to the Committee for Academic Freedom. They sound good. Let's all donate.
Yeah.
So it's, hopefully things are going in the right direction. But this guy still had a really rough ride. The process is the punishment.
Indeed. Well, next on Free Speech Nation, a UK trade union is facing legal action after two members challenged its gender policy as unlawful. See you in a couple of minutes.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Wet and windy weather will dominate the central Mediterranean over the next few days, bringing some heavy rain and rough seas to some areas. But actually, it's a fine outlook on Monday for many parts of the Canary Islands, Madeira and in particular Iberia. Plenty of sunshine here. Some heavy rain and squally winds for Corsica, Sardinia, Sicily and southern parts of Italy, though. Heavy rain, perhaps even some flooding in places. But that unsettled weather moves down to southern parts of Greece and into Turkey by Tuesday and Wednesday, leaving a fine outlook for many other parts of Europe.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Hello there, welcome to your latest GB News weather forecast from the Met Office, and we still have some blustery showers moving through tonight and into Monday morning. It calms down for a little while before then the next weather system moves in. Over the course of the night we do have a cold northwesterly flow bringing those showers in. We can see across the whole of the country this evening and overnight. Some of those showers will be heavy with some hail and thunder across the northwest of the UK, but also the risk of snow over the hills and mountains. Under any clear skies overnight, temperatures will dip away down to 3 or 4 degrees in a few spots, so patchy frost, some icy stretches possible to start Monday morning, and a mixed start. There will be some sunny spells, but also a scattering of showers. Showers most frequent across parts of Scotland. Some of these will be on the heavy side. Still falling as snow over the mountains, but there will be some sunshine too, particularly for Aberdeenshire. A mixture of sunny spells and showers for parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England. Whereas actually much of England and Wales will be largely dry. There'll be some bright or sunny spells around after that chilly start to the morning. Cloud increases from the west as we move through the day on Monday. Outbreaks of rain pushing into parts of Northern Ireland, western fringes of England and Wales as we approach lunchtime. Sunshine becoming limited to the far east, and then eventually rain reaching eastern parts by mid-afternoon. Some southern counties of England will stay dry. Temperatures here around 12 or 13 Celsius, but with winds coming in from the southwest, double figures for much of the UK. On Tuesday, it will be a cloudy start for many. Outbreaks of rain and drizzle, particularly in the west. Some heavier rain for parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland later on in the day. An increasing chance of some sunshine across southeast England as we move through into the afternoon. And here, temperatures lifting towards the mid-teens and higher further come Wednesday and Thursday towards 20 Celsius.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Decisions made in Washington aren't just shaping America, they're shaping Britain too. From migration to global security, from crime to health. Whatever happens in the White House today
will be felt in your town or city tomorrow.
That's why The Late Show is live from Washington, D.C.
Cutting through the politics to show you what it all means for Britain.
The Late Show live every night at midnight.
Only on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howie. A UK trade union is facing legal action after two members challenged its gender policy as unlawful. Norma Austin Hart and Alison Ann Dowling claim community union's policy wrongly groups women and non-binary people together, violating the Equality Act 2010. They also say they were threatened with disciplinary action for publicly criticising it. The union denies the allegations. The case, lodged at the Court of Session, seeks to have the policy quashed and to protect members from victimisation. Well, I am now joined by the GB News contributor, Connie Shaw. It seems crazy that there are union members who pay money to the union for decades, and when they seek protection as a protected class, as women, that their union is acting in the opposite of their interests.
Yeah, I have a lot of comments on clips from a protest that I went to that was supported by trade unions, and they were against the fact that a woman had objected to a man being in the female changing room. Lots of comments say, I left my trade union and joined the Free Speech Union instead because trade unions don't do anything for women anymore. And actually one of the women that I spoke to, Venice Allen, at this protest, said that she knows loads of women personally whose trade unions have actively acted against their interests. And she also made the point that trade unions have often campaigned against women's rights in the workplace, such as when it came to maternity care. I mean, I don't know that much about trade union history, but these are women, you know, Venice is on the left and she, you know, is obviously in favour of workers' rights and stuff, but trade unions have, according to Venice, always been against the things that would give women more right in the workplace. And now we're just seeing it again, but under this progressive ideology.
It's crazy. Well, I mean, Venice is a friend of mine. She's amazing, an amazing campaigner. You would have thought that the unions, though, would follow the law, certainly after the Supreme Court's decision last year, yet they're doubling down.
Well, they don't agree with the law. They disagree that women are female and that they deserve the right to single-sex spaces. I can't think of a single trade union that isn't captured by this.
The nurses' union, who had to form...
The Darlington Nurses
The Darlington
Union,
Nurses Union, who had to form to protect themselves, to protect women's spaces.
It's outrageous. And when I went to this protest in Southwark, it was about a woman called Miranda Newsom, who, in her leisure centre at Southwark, she complained about a man being in the changing room, and instead of the council and the leisure centre supporting her about the fact that a man had broken the law by going into the women's changing room, the council decided to ban her not only from that leisure centre but from every single leisure centre in the borough. So she now has to travel outside of Southwark just to go to the gym because she didn't want to get changed in front of a man.
Well, we're going to be covering that story, Miranda, hopefully in the coming weeks. But there are some incredible clips that you filmed outside.
And the point is, this protest that you're about to see was organised by Unison and Unite.
With big placards in the background. So we've got a clip now of the kind of aggression that was, coming to you as a woman. So let's have a little look at this.
And I'm absolutely disgusted that this is the state of trade union activism in the 21st century. However, it shouldn't come as a great surprise to us because trade unions have always worked against women's rights. They fought against equal pay for women, maternity leave, you name it. If it's good for women, trade unions will be against it. Yeah.
So that was actually Venice Allen explaining very succinctly what the issue is within unions. There's another clip. There's a very quick clip, I think, of just the aggression. So let's see if we're going to play that one now.
Someone's going to touch your camera, aren't they?
Come on, keep coming up. Grown man coming towards me because I don't want to show. Are you not grown?
So that's what
There's
it takes.
Bit, I mean, the clip cut short, there's a bit where he has his drumsticks and he smacks them against his hand and he's getting closer and closer to my face. And it was bizarre. There were so many men like him with drums, huge men protesting against women having the right to getting changed away from men. And I asked lots of these men, would you be happy with your daughter having to get changed in the changing room with a man who you didn't know? And they said, yeah, if that man was a trans woman. And, like, basically saying as long as that man said he was a woman, they'd be fine with it. I mean...
It's insane to see this, and these are people who are coming there under the banner of unions who supposedly are meant to protect women's rights. Well, look, well done for being there. I'm sorry that you faced this level of aggression.
And I do it every weekend if I like being able to show what they're doing.
You're on the front line, well, you're exposing them, and that's fantastic. Anyway, big round of applause, please, for Connie Shaw. A spokesperson for Community said Community takes its legal responsibilities seriously and we strongly refute any suggestion, implication or allegation that our strategies and policies are not fully compliant with the Equality Act. Community remains a safe and welcoming place for all of our members and we will continue to uphold our commitment to equality for all. Next on Free Speech Nation, we are going to be joined by the critical drinker and we are going to be talking about the Oscars. See you in a few minutes.
Britain deserves a newsroom that puts the facts and your voice first.
Well, and that's what you get on GB News. Lively debates, lively conversation.
And we're not afraid to hold power to account.
And each other. So join me, Andrew Pierce.
And me, Miriam Gates, for Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 on GB News.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Yeah, that's got a bit of a smell.
A birthday fit for a Queenie.
My name was Queenie Robinson. Everybody wants to know about my name. Is it a real name? Is it a nickname? No, it's not. It's on my birth certificate. My father forgot what I should have been called, and I've never found out since.
But the name didn't stick, and Queenie quickly became known as Robbie after signing up to join the RAF. Robbie served in the Women's Auxiliary Air Force in a bomber command, despite still being 17.
She said, you are 18, aren't you? I said, oh, yes, I'll be 19 in February. Biggest lie out. I was only 17. She sort of gave me an old-fashioned look. She didn't believe me, I know.
Her first love, Frank Vincent, also served in the war.
There's Frank, yeah. And that's his aircraft, the Lancaster.
Aged 21, he flew in the Lancaster bomber. But just months before they were due to get married, Frank was killed in action. Robbie has kept Frank's love of aviation alive, flying a Spitfire, aged 101.
I had a male called James as my pilot, and he said, do you want to do a victory roll, Robbie? So I said, oh, yes. So we turned turtle sort of thing, and there was me sort of sitting there looking at pink clouds upside down.
In December, Robbie took to the skies once again, this time without an engine, in a glider, aged 102. This week, Robbie is celebrating her 103rd birthday.
My friend suggests that my next ambition is to jump tandem out of a plane.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Breaking news, live updates, stories that matter.
From the heart of the GB newsroom to every corner of Britain, with our team of dedicated journalists across the UK.
GB News bulletins are there to deliver the latest news that matters to you.
Bulletins on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Free Speech Nation. It is Oscar night! Yay! People are very, very excited, and we are joined by the legend that is the critical drinker to get his take. Yeah, there he is. Hello. Whoa, wow, that's very atmospheric for... Aliens are going to visit later. And thank you for trimming your beard, especially for this evening, for this special night. Now, the film that's got the most nominations, I think, ever, is Sinners. Do you think that is deserved?
I mean, in a nutshell, no. It's not a bad movie by any stretch. I actually quite enjoyed it, and I gave it a positive review. But I think Hollywood are absolutely going over the top with this one, and 16 Oscar nominations pretty much puts it on par for being one of the greatest movies ever made. It is not one of the greatest movies ever made. I think we need to calm down a little bit with that one.
Do you think that there is a kind of... there definitely seems to be an increase in quality, arguably. Something like Marty Supreme, I thought, was great. What's your take on the best film of the era?
Sure. I mean, we've got some quite strong contenders there. I mean, Train Dreams was another excellent one. Like you say, Marty Supreme was a good possibility. Frankenstein is another good contender. You know, an excellent take on a very old story, but really does it justice. So these are all good possibilities. I do like the fact that F1 is in there. It's never going to win, but I really enjoyed that movie. So there is a decent balance of films, and even if Sinners does clean up, well, it's nice to see movies with a bit of mainstream appeal for once, rather than these obscure art house flicks that no one's ever heard of. So there is a degree of appealing to the mainstream, which is nice this year.
Yeah, the Oscars, at the peak of the Oscars, I think it was 57 million people watched it around Titanic time. Now it's down to about 19 million. But maybe the wheel is turning. Maybe populism in cinema is back.
I mean, hopefully, yeah. It's going to take a very long time before the Oscars start to claw back the cultural relevance that they had 10, 20 years ago. It's just... we've lost that now, and years and years of actors getting up there and lecturing the rest of us about how we need to live our lives, that has damaged them. It's done an immense amount of damage, and it's eroded people's interest in it, and to get that back is going to be a tough uphill battle, I think.
Well, who do you think is going to give the most pretentious winner's speech if they got up there? So it's a tough call, isn't it?
Yeah, there's a lot of strong contenders. I mean, if Leonardo DiCaprio wins something, you've got you're going to get something pretty big out of him, I would imagine.
So you have a personal choice. If you could say one film that you hope wins best film.
I mean, like I say, I really enjoyed F1. I know it's not going to win. I'd love to see Frankenstein win, actually, just to shake things up a little bit. So I do think it's an excellent movie. I think Del Toro did a superb job with it. So if that could win, great. I'd be very happy.
And do you actually stay awake watching all of this stuff to comment on it in the morning, or do you just going to be bed by 11?
Yeah, I absolutely don't care. I'll wake up tomorrow and figure out what happened.
OK, well, brilliant. Well, look, thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to watching more of your videos online. Big round of applause, Critical Drinker. Just before we go, in line with the GB News editorial charter, we want to apologise for an earlier comment made during the programme in relation to the LGBTQ+ alphabet. Anyway, that's him over there. Thank you very much for joining us for Free Speech Nation this week. Stay tuned to the brilliant Alex Armstrong tonight. That is next, and Alex is going to be telling us what's going on.
Thank you, Josh. Exclusive tonight on my show.
Why does she have to have a badge to speak to the Free Press? Do the Islamic Human Rights Commission not like free speech? Do you not like free speech?
That's right. Today I was at the Al-Quds so-called hate rally, and let me tell you, it was very, very tense. I've got exclusive footage to show you throughout the show, stuff you've never seen aired on British TV before. We're going to bring it to you here, exclusive on GB News. That'll be with you just after your weather.
Today, clouds overhead. Total zen with it.